Hi everyone, Matt from the Canary Room again, doing another explainer video, and this time it is around the cinnamon factor. I have had a number of people over my bird keeping lifetime ask me about cinnamon and cinnamon pairings and what the possibilities are. So I thought I would do a little video. I say little, I'm not sure how long this is going to be. A little video to explain, and I will use to illustrate some of the birds that I have in my shed. So stay tuned and hopefully you enjoy it. If you do, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and please smash a like below. Thanks very much. So cinnamon. Cinnamon in canaries is often seen as, for some, a curse, for others a celebration. I think a really nice cinnamon bird is a beautiful sight to behold. There are some important principles to remember about cinnamon. So the first thing is that a cock bird, a male bird, can be either visually cinnamon, so he can be a yellow feathered bird or a buff feathered bird, or he can be a carrier of the cinnamon gene. Okay, so a cock bird can be a visual cinnamon bird or a carrier of the cinnamon gene. And when we say a visual cinnamon bird or a carrier of the cinnamon gene, that can either be a cinnamon or a fawn as a visual bird, or variegated varieties of both of those colours, or it can be any other coloured feather type bird in the cock variety. So it could be a clear, it could be a variegated, it could be a heavily variegated, it could be a self, it could be a blue, and it could carry the cinnamon gene, and it could carry the cinnamon gene if it was a buff cock or a yellow cock. Okay, but the important thing to remember is only the cock bird can carry the cinnamon gene. A hen is either visually cinnamon or a normal. There is one caveat to that. Increasingly, what we have found in the UK is that a number of fanciers, as they've continued to breed cinnamon birds, have produced the occasional clear, visually clear cinnamon bird. So that is a bird which looks to the naked eye to be clear either in yellow or buff, but is in fact a full cinnamon. So the bird is not a carrier, it is a full cinnamon, it is just not showing any cinnamon feathering. Still with me? Hope so. So let's have a look at a few pairings and let's decide or determine what those outcomes could and should be. So the first and perhaps the most predictable of all of the pairings is cinnamon to cinnamon. So you can see here in the cage we have a cinnamon buff cock and we have a variegated cinnamon yellow hen. All of the offspring from this pairing will be cinnamon, and this pairing will breed cinnamon cocks and cinnamon hens. And in this instance here, because we've got a variegated yellow hen, we might get self cinnamon young, we might get lightly variegated cinnamon young, we might get heavily variegated cinnamon young. If we were to replace this hen with a fawn hen, all of the young from the pairing would also be cinnamon, but because we've put a white ground bird in there, i.e. white ground fawn is cinnamon on a white bird, because we've put a white bird in there, we may also breed fawn cocks and fawn hens. Okay, so that's our first pairing. Our second pairing is a visual cinnamon cock over a normal green hen. Now in this instance we've got a heavily variegated green-yellow hen, and all of the birds that were bred for this pairing, all of the birds that displayed a red eye and the visual colour of cinnamon would be hens, and all of the cockbirds from this pairing would be cinnamon carriers. So if we pair a cinnamon cockbird to a normal hen, all of the young birds that are cinnamon will be hens, and all of the young birds which are visually normal will be cocks, but will carry the cinnamon carrying gene. It's a pairing I use occasionally, particularly if I want to breed guaranteed carriers and I want to breed cinnamon hens. Now, hopefully all self-explanatory so far. This is where things start to become a little bit complicated. So in this next pairing, what we have is a heavily variegated buff cinnamon carrying cock. So this bird is visually normal, but it carries a cinnamon gene. If I pair this bird with a variegated cinnamon yellow hen, it will produce both cinnamon cocks and cinnamon hens. It will also produce cinnamon carrying cocks and normal hens. So I know that all of the cockbirds from this pairing will either be carrying the cinnamon gene or they will be visual cinnamon cocks. I could swap the hen out and replace it with a fawn hen, so cinnamon on a white ground, and I would produce blue carrier cocks and fawn cocks, as well as cinnamon cocks and cinnamon hens and normal hens or normal or blue hens. Okay, following so far still? Good. The challenge starts to come when you run a carrier cock, so a visually normal cock that carries the cinnamon gene, over a visual normal hen. Now, I say the challenge, what this pairing will produce is a proportion of cockbirds that carry the cinnamon gene and a proportion of cockbirds that don't carry the cinnamon gene. The challenge with that is until you breed those cockbirds, you won't know whether they are carriers of the cinnamon gene or not, and that's where people start to get a little bit concerned about cinnamon, dominating the stud. That pairing will also produce cinnamon hens, and it will produce normal hens as well. Now, the challenge for people comes when we start throwing fawns into the mix or blues into the mix, so the allied varieties of birds. And essentially, the same principles apply. So here we've got a blue cinnamon carrying cock. If I was to pair that to a cinnamon hen, then some of the birds that would come out would be fawn cocks, some would be normal cinnamon cocks, some would be carrier cocks that could be blue or could be normal, depending. So that you are extending the likelihood of different colours that come out. So what was really interesting for me in 2023 was I used a fawn cock over a normal hen, and I bred 2 blue carrier cocks and a fawn hen. Now, I knew the hen was a hen because it was the only one of the young when it came out that was marked as a cinnamon bird. What you might expect is if you were to pair a fawn cock over a fawn hen, that all of the young that you would breed would be white ground. That's certainly what I would have expected. I did the pairing last year. I bred a fawn cock over a blue hen, and actually I produced a visually normal cinnamon hen and a fawn hen. So, little bit of a variable there. So listen, the thing with cinnamon is only the cock can carry the cinnamon gene. However, you can get normal full cinnamon hen birds. So a hen that looks visually clear, which is a full cinnamon. It isn't a carrier, it's a full cinnamon. And that's where you do need to keep extensive records. I hope in some way I have demystified this for you and not confused you even more. If you've enjoyed the video, please hit a like. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button. Until next time, everyone, take care.